Good morning. It's 9 o'clock, and I call to order the May 17th meeting of the Saline County Commission. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Shadwick?
Here.
Commissioner Sparks?
Here.
Commissioner Vidrickson?
Here.
Commissioner Weiss?
Here.
Commissioner White?
Now, if we could all stand for a flag salute, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we'll have our citizens' input portion of the meeting. Citizens may speak on county government, usually limited to 3 minutes, and these are on items that are not on our agenda.
Mr. Commissioner, I have someone in the
Okay?
Zoom with the raised hand.
Just please give your name and address on Zoom.
My name is Lene Meyer, and I'm from Salina, and I may be speaking too soon. If I need to wait, I will. I wanted to make comment about the agenda item about surge that's coming up, presented by Janelle. Should I wait?
Yes, Lene, if you will wait. We'll take comment when we're on that topic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak? Seeing none, we'll go on to our consent agenda. Our consent agenda consists of approval of tax roll adjustments, approval of disposition of property, approval of contracts, approval of accounts payable, and approval of the public forum agenda. Any commissioners wish to amend or remove any items that are on the consent agenda?
Move approval. Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. We now go into our action items. Item number 1.
RFA 146-22, Notice of Participation, Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Michelle Barkley, Emergency Management Director.
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Commission. I'm here to request that the chair sign the notice of participation for our regional hazard mitigation plan. If you remember, I was back before you in 2020 for the updated plan that we had just adopted. This is a new requirement that FEMA has pushed out for those that wish to participate in mitigation grants. They must acknowledge that they will participate in the next update to the plan. That is all that this notice for participation encompasses. The Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan allows the county to participate in public assistance after disasters and to apply for mitigation-focused grants to better protect the community and the jurisdictions that are listed in the plan, and to prevent and allow us to acknowledge the severity of the hazards that we have within Saline County, so that our jurisdiction and community knows that we acknowledge that we have these threats in our community. I will be back before you in 2025 to ask for you to adopt the updated mitigation plan when that comes time. Were there any additional questions to the notice of participation?
Nope. Very good. Questions of Michelle?
No.
Nope. Seems like just checking the box here.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I'd entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any public comment on? See none.
Mr. Chair, I move we authorize the chair to sign the notice of participation for the Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve RFA 146-22, Notice of Participation, Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Michelle.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
All right, now move into our informational items. Item number 1.
Tri-Rivers Fair Board 2023 allocation request.
Morning.
Morning. I'm Carl Garten, Vice President of the Fair Board, and the only one that was brave enough to come before you this morning. Amber Ford had sent you a letter here back in April requesting our contribution of $20,000 plus an additional $10,000 to be used to support events of the fair. Mainly the reason for requesting the additional funds is the fact that we've lost the rodeo and the demo derby. We are going to try and do the demo derby, but not on the fairgrounds anymore. But it'll be done at another facility here in the county. So we've lost some of our income. We'll find out through this year, how much that's going to affect the fair. We know that the fair from the 2019 fair, where we did not have any events because of the COVID, but just did 4-H, that it cost us roughly $30,000 to put that fair on that year, which didn't include the open class. That usually is going to run another $5,000 by the time you pay premiums, judges, and everything. So we're looking at costs there. We have a new carnival that will be coming in. Ottaway Amusement has sold their carnival out and to another company, and they will be coming with a different contract and everything. So it'll be interesting to see how all that works out. And so that is kind of the reason why we have the unknowns there. I know that that we sold some items off and gained some money there. We are hoping to put some of that into reserve so that we have some funds in the future in case there's emergency items that come up, new things that need to be bought. Well, we're going to have to spend some money probably here another year or so on some new scales over there and things like that. So any additional questions you have about our request? Be glad to try to answer those. I do have our treasurer here with us too.
Not necessarily a question of the Fair Board, Carl, but I do want to make everyone aware that this is going to be an unusual year with our budget, with all the inflation and everything that's going on. We've just done a wage study that is going to require some attention from the commission. We haven't yet looked at any numbers from the commission standpoint, but it is going to be an unusual and very trying and difficult year to make our budget work. I can assure you that, and just to give everybody a fair warning that this is going to be a tough year.
Carl, your assets of $158,000, does that generate any income, interest, or anything?
Yes, actually at the present time, we're going to try to put some of that in investments.
Okay.
So that we're generating some additional income off of that.
Okay. Because I just see a very nominal amount so far, so that's just
Right.
something that you're going to do in the
Right.
near future, I assume. Very
Actually, it's been on the agenda the last two meetings, and
Right.
two people that are assigned to it haven't been able to attend. So
Good, okay.
hopefully tonight we get that taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Carl, you mentioned some auction items that you sold off. I believe those was that the equipment that the county donated to the
Right,
Fair
that
Board?
was basically be everything that was there at the rodeo arena, the arena itself, bleachers, those things that were sold off.
And what did you net off of that auction?
About $150-some thousand that we netted off of that, yes.
I don't see it on your income on your spreadsheet, that 100.
Will you help me out, Ms. Teresa? It's under miscellaneous, she says.
I see $168 in miscellaneous income. So of
No,
your
it-
balance, let's say of your balance, 158,000, how much of that was?
138 or 40,000 came off of there. So you can see that we don't have much funds in there. And that's why we're hoping to keep some of that as reserves, so we do have some funds for future use, so.
So 80% of your balance is from this one-time item that
Right.
the county donated to you. One other question. You mentioned the loss of income on the rodeo. I thought in previous visits that the rodeo was kind of a wash, or sometimes even a loser.
Sometimes, yeah.
So,
Actually, last year, we actually made some money, but not much, but a little bit.
yeah, okay. All right, well, thanks for clearing that
You
up.
bet. If you have additional questions, don't hesitate to contact me, Amber, or Kathy here to have any questions, so,
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
thank you. Thanks.
Anyone in the public want to visit on the fair's request? All right, we'll go to item number 2.
Salina Grace Community Resource Center 2023 allocation request. Chad Young, Executive Director of the Salina Rescue Mission.
Good morning, Chad.
Good morning. Thank you all for allowing me to be here today. I do believe we have a PowerPoint presentation.
I never received one.
I don't know if that made it to.
I never
IT.
received one.
Yeah,
we all
you
have
have it in your
front of us,
packet
I
though,
think.
so I think Chad can run through it.
All right. Well, I was planning on going through the PowerPoint pretty quickly anyways, because I know that y'all have other business to attend to. But I wanted to give y'all an overall scope of what the project is, what we're doing, why we're doing it. And so the first question that we want to address is, what is Saline County doing about the problem of homelessness within our community? If we look to the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness, they give some strategies for addressing homelessness in our communities. And those strategies include homeless prevention, strengthening crisis response systems, build partnerships, and reducing criminal justice involvement, all of which our project does. We have right now about 16 different agencies in Salina and the Saline County area that commonly work with those who are homeless in our community. With so many agencies having interactions with our homeless community, one might ask what the problem is. Well, generally, we would say that it's a lack of knowledge, not understanding which organizations provide which help, how to engage the help, what qualifies a person for the help, where these agencies are located, and so forth. For a person who's in crisis and either homeless, recently homeless, or looking at trying to remain in their home, oftentimes the crisis becomes overwhelming to the individual, and they have difficulty thinking straight through it. And sometimes there's even mental health issues that prevent a person from being able to navigate these agencies. Transportation can be an issue. Obviously, OCCK City Go has done a great job of improving that within our city, but still for an individual who needs help, oftentimes they need to get help from multiple agencies within our community, and that transportation can become overwhelming to them. It could take a person all day to get to 2 or 3 different agencies to get the help that they need. And then, of course, we have the issue of some of our people that need this help are unable to advocate for themselves, unable to articulate what their needs are, what kind of help they need, unable to see the issues clearly. And so our desire is to help in those areas. The problems that Salina Grace is solving is, first of all, and this came from months, if not years, of discussions with other helping agencies within the community. Where can a homeless person go, especially in the winter, when other sheltering might not be an option? Is there one place a person can go to find the help they need? Our higher needs individuals require someone who can walk alongside them daily to help them keep moving forward. And where can the homeless in downtown area go to get off the streets where they're welcomed? Our first goal was to address the winter shelter needs, and we did that by opening a low-barrier winter-only shelter. The Rescue Mission and Ashby House both work with individuals to try to help them get back on their feet, but oftentimes we are working with people who are struggling to stay sober. And so because we have a sober requirement at both of our shelters, sometimes people relapse. And where do they go when they relapse? We wanted to offer them an opportunity to still have safe shelter even when they're struggling in their addiction. As we know, most addicts relapse many times before they get sober. And so when someone relapses, we just want to make sure that they have the ability to survive, to be safe, and to hopefully one day get the help that they really need. Salina Grace is a low barrier shelter in that we allow people who are minimally intoxicated to stay within the shelter. So if an individual has had a few beers or whatever, they can, as long as their behavior is safe and they are cooperative, we can go ahead and provide overnight shelter for them and then start trying to re-engage them to get the help that they need, whether it's through Central Kansas Foundation or one of our other many organizations that help people in need in our community. We do an intake process to identify areas where we might be able to help them, and we make referrals to agencies in town that can provide that further assistance. If you'll go a couple more slides forward there. So where's this winter shelter located? It's located in Grand Avenue United Methodist Church at 304 West Grand Avenue. If you go forward one more slide, I think there we go. That's at 304 West Grand Avenue. We house that within the gymnasium of the church. We've been doing this for 5 seasons now, and we've had great success in helping people not only to get off the streets of Salina, but then also to re-engage them and get back into the rescue mission, where we have further programs to help them get back on their feet or back into Ashby House or into DVAC. If you look at the next slide there, it just kind of shows you a map of where it's located. It's up on the north side of town. And if you'll go on to the next slide, you can see a couple of pictures there. This is the entryway. Once someone comes in the front door, they're greeted by a security officer. He tests their blood alcohol content, because a person who is struggling with alcoholism quickly can become, have medical risks to their physical person if their alcohol limits are too high. And so we're checking the alcohol limits for their safety, but also for the safety of our shelter guests, our staff, and so forth. We sit down, we visit with each individual person, which you can see on the right there. And then on this slide here, we make sure that they have some warm clothing. It's a very, very basic setup. We put little dividers up for when COVID came to try to help limit some spread of contamination. You see the mats on the floor where a person can sleep. Once again, our target here is just to keep a person safe off the streets, warm shelter for the winter, and try to get them re-engaged back into the agencies that can give them further help. So some winter statistics, shelter statistics from the 2021 season, which this year's season was very similar in numbers. We had about 980 nights of shelter provided, served 76 different men, 32 different women, and 2 kids. We provided 800 walking breakfasts, 1,300 bottles of water, 309 items of clothing giving, 24 referrals were made to other agencies. And a question that we get asked often is, how do guests come to the Salina Grace shelter? we have a referral system, and this is very important for our community to understand. This is not a place where someone from outside of our community can just go to this shelter. We have safeguards put in place. So we have a referral system for people to come into. We would rather people be at the Salina Rescue Mission or at Ashby House, where we have programs to help them get back on their feet. For those who are already within Salina and cannot stay at the Rescue Mission or Ashby House because of sobriety issues, or perhaps there's some mental health issues where they have anxieties about staying in community living situations, this is what this shelter is for. So 67 of those referrals were made through the Rescue Mission, which means we do the vetting process. 26 of those referrals were made through Ashby House, where they were working with women, children, and families, trying to see if they were better suited to help them or if they needed to go to Salina Grace. And 11 were referred by Salina Police Department. As we've done this for 5 years now, we've been asking ourselves the question, is there anything else we can do? Once again, after discussions with multiple agencies, there's still a lack of knowledge of what the resources are, where they're located, how to engage them, how to qualify for them. It's still overwhelming for a person who's homeless to start navigating this. Oftentimes they get depressed and overwhelmed and just kind of shut down and don't move forward. Transportation can be an issue. The inability, once again, to advocate for oneself. So where can they go? And that's when we decided to open up a community resource center at 142 South 7th. And of course, the issues that we're engaging here for the lack of knowledge, our solution is we're providing a case manager who's knowledgeable of all the agencies in town, what services they provide, and how to help a person connect with those agencies. This is not just give a person a name of an agency and a phone number and saying good luck. This is someone walking alongside a person, making sure they get qualified, they get connected, and they get the services they need. Problem number 2, the overwhelming for those in crisis. The care manager doesn't just get out information, as I said, they walk alongside them. And the walking alongside them is following up, right? Making sure that, so we get a meeting scheduled for next week. Let's continue to follow up with them through the week and make sure that they're still getting the help they need and that they make it to that meeting next week. Transportation. One of the issues in the homeless community that we see is oftentimes where drug and alcohol addictions are at play or mental health issues are at play, someone can get on the bus with the greatest of intentions, see somebody, an old playmate, and easily get distracted, and the next thing you know, they're off doing the wrong thing instead of doing the right thing. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to wrap services around the individual as much as possible. So we're engaging, like many of our people are online, engaging in Zoom meetings with the other agencies, trying to limit the transportation for multiple locations around town. Many of our agencies are now sending their case managers to the Community Resource Center. And so through this process, we're acting kind of like a community navigator, right? We're trying to help those who are in the greatest need know how to navigate and get the help they need to get connected with the services in town that will make a difference in their lives. We're addressing the issues of the inability to advocate oneself because the care manager is advocating for the individual. The care manager is getting to know each individual on a personal basis, knowing and understanding exactly what their situation is, And sometimes our care manager does a much better job of communicating what those needs are to the other agencies on behalf of the individual. And then where can our unsheltered homeless go in Salina where they are welcomed? We've heard for many years from our downtown constituents that they are concerned about the number of homeless in the downtown area. And we hear that, and we want to do something about it, and we want to try to engage the problem. We talked about, should we open up something like this down at the Mission, which is on the southwest part of town over by the Tony's Pizza Factory. The wide consensus from our agencies is that most of our individuals are not going to travel all the way down to the southwest corner of town to start engaging in services, that we would be much better suited if we started off where those homeless people are already congregating in the downtown area, meet them where they're at, and start trying to engage them with services. So with all of this in mind, we did open the Community Resource Center at 142 South 7th, right here in the downtown area. As you can see, if you'll go, I think 2 more slides up. Yep. So once again, when the individual enters into the Community Resource Center, they're greeted by a security officer. They store their belongings in these foot lockers that we have there so that they're not bringing contraband in or weapons into the building. We have a good security camera system that the security personnel can monitor at all times. We have a day room where the individuals can get in off the streets, come in, have a place to sit where they're welcomed, use the restrooms within our facility. And Christ Cathedral for many years has been serving our homeless community in their parking lot lunches on a daily basis, Monday through Friday. Well, in partnering, because we don't want to duplicate services, we want to take services that already exist and bring them all together in one location. So we visited with Christ Cathedral, and they were willing to bring their food service off of the streets over there where their church is and bring it into the Community Resource Center, so that those individuals that were going to them for lunch are now coming into the Resource Center, where we can engage them with our care manager and start trying to find out more about them, what's their story, where are they from, and how can we help them. And there you see a picture of Chris, the mom boss, hard at work, helping somebody in need there. She does a great job, and she's here today to answer any questions you might have. And then you can see on the left there, we have some office space where multiple agencies can come in and use that office space as they meet with clients right there within the Community Resource Center. So we have office spaces set up for these other agencies to be able to use. And of course, we have a nice little waiting room area for those who are waiting to meet with those individuals. So far, since opening January 3rd of this year, just over the past 4 months, we've seen 329 different individuals come in to be served. We're serving an average of 45 people per day, having 45 visitors per day come in. We average making 300 referrals to other agencies every month. Every month. We've been able to help get 15 of our unsheltered homeless into shelters. And Chris has also worked diligently to help them move forward of getting off the streets, because she keeps asking them about jobs, helping them fill out job applications, helping them with resumes, and we've been able to help 30 people get jobs so far. There's a cost of homelessness on every community. A study in Philadelphia back in 2017 said each homeless person costs the taxpayers an average of $22,372 per year. The U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness cites studies estimated that a community cost is between $30,000 to $50,000 a year per homeless person. Sarah Rankin, a Seattle University professor, director of the Homeless Rights Advocacy Project, says in their area the cost is much higher. It's between $50,000 to $80,000. And of course, I've seen studies where some studies show that they cost upwards of $90,000 to $100,000 for a community. The point is, doing nothing is more costly than offering services to the homeless. According to a study by Baylor University assessing faith-based response to homelessness in America, finding in 11 cities, that's the name of the study, by prioritizing a holistic approach to homelessness that's addressing core issues that cause homelessness, and that's what we're doing. We're not addressing just the homelessness, we're addressing why are you homeless? What's caused it, and how can we help there? Through these approaches, we are at the forefront of innovating real long-term solutions, and we have a socioeconomic benefit to the community, and that is through their study they concluded that for every dollar of government funding, the community saw $9.42 of savings for that community through offering these services. Salina Grace, our budget for 2022 is $350,000 in total expenses. That's a pretty lean budget for all that we're doing. Funds raised thus far from private donors, you can see $60,000. United Methodist Urban Grant provided us with $57,500 to get this new project kicked off. The Salina Regional Health Foundation, through their CHIP grant, they awarded $50,000 to help us get this launched. The Earl Bain Foundation awarded $20,000. The 28th Judicial District contributed $10,000 to help solve a common problem in sheltering. Greater Salina Community Foundation has awarded $4,000. And we've requested $60,000 in assistance from the city of Salina, and we are requesting $40,000 from the county. And at that point in time, I think I've shared about everything I was hoping to share, and I just wanted to leave this moment to say thank y'all for at least hearing me and considering our request, and I'd like to open it up to any questions you might have.
Questions of Chad?
Chad, remind me of, have we funded you at all in the past? This
No.
is an initial
We have-
request.
We have not gotten any funding
Okay.
at all.
Thank you. That's-
And how many people are employed by Salina Grace?
So the Salina Grace Winter Shelter employs 7 people through the winter. Right now, at the Community Resource Center, we have 2 full-time staff plus security.
And where does the oversight of the organization, where does that come from? Do you have a board? I mean, does the
Correct.
state involved? Where does it come from?
So currently, I'm the executive director of both the Salina Rescue Mission and Salina Grace. We have a board of directors. We are a 501c3 corporation. We have 12 people on our board of directors. Some of them are here in the room, as well as are some of our partnering agencies here in the room today to show their support.
Yes. Very, very interesting, very informative. I mean, not even knowing, I mean, of course, a lot of these organizations I know about, but it's like this one here, just starting in January, I've never, out of sight, out of mind. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Yes.
Sure.
Questions or comments from the public?
We do have somebody with a raised hand.
Yes, go ahead on Zoom. Lene?
This is Lene Meyer from Salina. I just want to say, for obvious reasons, I hope you grant the funding here. There are many wounded souls in the world, and they need help to get back on their feet. And also, as a taxpayer, it's to our advantage too to help these folks. So I do hope that's all part of your thinking as you make that decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Lene. All right. Item number 3.
Saline Initiative for Restorative Justice 2023 allocation request. Janelle Murphy, SIRJ Program Director.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Janelle Murphy. I'm the Program Director for the Salina Initiative for Restorative Justice, and I'm afraid I'm going to keep your restorative processes meeting going, because what Salina Grace is doing is really, it's a restorative process to kind of help those in need. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do through the court system as a restorative justice program. So, like I said, my name's Janelle Murphy. I'm here with my colleague Ian Zimmerman and where did she go? And Kylie Golian is with the City of Salina. She's the grant coordinator. But most of the information, I'm going to kind of keep it short, most of the information you received in your packet already about what our program consists of. My background is law enforcement. I started my mediation practice towards the end of that, my career with the City of Salina, but experienced firsthand how the court process for criminal matters can be time-consuming, expensive, emotionally draining. Fees escalate, relationships suffer, it's very adversarial, and typically court systems are burdened by ever-increasing caseloads, decreases in funding, and really county and state budgets are struggling to keep up. So in 2012, a small group of mediators and community members came together at the invitation of a local minister to start the Salina Initiative for Restorative Justice. We've partnered with a lot of agencies. I know Ms. Grievous is in the room today, but really was prompted by former Saline County Attorney Ellen Mitchell and former Sheriff Glenn Kokanowski to kind of figure out ways to keep kids in the classroom and out of the courtroom, and in turn out of his jail when they turned 18. So we started the Salina Initiative of Restorative Justice as kind of a nonprofit. Currently, we partner with the Salina Area United Way as our fiscal agent. And I'm not really going to go into the process. We talked about it in your packet, but our program is really, we work with a lot of agencies like Community Corrections and the Saline County Attorney's Office and Municipal Court, but we pride ourselves on being neutral mediators. We started out with 4 Kansas Supreme Court approved mediators. We currently have 12, anywhere from Riley County to Ellsworth County, that all handle cases for Saline County for juvenile and now adult offenders. It really is important to us that we maintain that neutrality, even though we are considered a diversion program for most of those agencies, and through the immediate intervention program that's out of Annie's office. But we, it's important to keep that neutrality to us because we deal with confidential issues through the court system. Just as an example, I know salary and wage studies are at the top of your mind. Part of the reason why we started this program was to save the court's time and money. For one case, one assistant in the Saline County Attorney's Office for a case that goes through surge, start to finish, is about a 90-minute time commitment. For a case that would go through the traditional court process is a 2-day time commitment for her. So if you take that into consideration and think of how expansive that is for one person versus the entire court system, I really do feel like we have proven ourselves to show savings to the court and the taxpayers for Saline County. This is our first request. We've been based on grants, private funding, private donors. We have a designated fund at the Greater Salina Community Foundation. But this is our first formal request from the county for funding. We don't have a brick and mortar. Most of us work from home. We utilize the public library for meetings, and Ann's office has been generous enough for us to keep case files and archive documents there. So we don't have a huge budget. What we're asking for is probably a third to half of our annual budget from the county. But we're just to the point in our development where it's difficult to keep applying for grants without having buy-in from local and state government. So that's why we're here today. I'm going to play just a short video that kind of talks about restorative justice, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ann to kind of talk you through a couple of the actual cases that we've encountered. So.
More than half of victims of violent crime don't even call the police in the first place. They prefer nothing to everything we have to offer. The vast majority of crime survivors' pain goes unhealed. What the existence of restorative justice means is that we can no longer pretend we don't know what else to do. As a country, we're really good at punishment. It's passive. It doesn't require people to act, to think. It certainly doesn't require them to change. When we lock people up, we excuse them from their responsibility to answer for what they've done. Restorative justice is a process to hold them accountable. It's a tool. People take turns answering questions like, what happened? What needs arise? Whose responsibility is it to meet those needs? And how is that person going to do it? It requires someone to take responsibility, to repair things as much as possible, and to never commit that harm again. This isn't about feeling sorry. It's about doing sorry. Things like go to school, get a job, pay restitution, apologize, do community service. Restorative justice practices have been used to address low-level infractions like vandalism, up to addressing the impact of murders on the surviving family members. Restorative justice processes are first and foremost about meeting the needs of people who are hurt. Sometimes the person who can make the greatest contribution to a survivor's healing is the person who harmed them. To come through trauma, we need answers to our questions. To say, my life was never the same after you hurt me like that. Crime survivors want the most safety possibly available. So if incarceration actually produced safety, we would have the safest country in human history. That's not what we have. The core drivers of violence are shame, isolation, an inability to meet one's economic needs, and exposure to violence. And we bake those into prisons to try and keep people from committing further violence. Incarceration exposes people to exactly the things that increase the likelihood that they'll go on to harm others. People who are hurt deserve a process that will help them heal. People who are responsible for crime have an obligation to be accountable for that. All of us deserve responses to crime that actually make us safer. Our current criminal justice system doesn't deliver any of those, and restorative justice at its best delivers them all.
Thank you. The restorative justice in general, I like to say it is treating crime as if it's a tear in the community. It's not just one person violating the law, who to punish, and how long they get punished. It's about repairing the harm that they've done. I wanted to tell you about a couple of cases. One is our, what we refer to as our orange traffic cones case. Oh, I should say I'm Ann Zimmerman, and I'm a mediator with the SURGE program. On one of our local roads, there were traffic cones arranged around some road work, and a group of teenage boys, just for fun, decided to rearrange the cones. You can imagine that could be fairly dangerous. They were spotted, and the police came, and they all ran away, but one got caught and was referred to our program. A couple of county road and bridge people came to our meeting at the library. And the process is the victim gets to talk first to tell what happened and how they came to find out about it, what the consequences of that could have been, what they had to do to make things right. And then the offender gets to explain himself, how it happened, what he was thinking, how the whole thing went down, and how it had affected his life since then, after he got caught. So then we have a discussion, and the agreement that came out of that, which had a deadline to complete, was that the young man agreed to spend several days after school cleaning the orange cones at the county shop, which they would have had to do themselves, and they try to avoid that usually, I guess, because it's not the best part of their job. He successfully completed his agreement on time, and as I understand it, they liked his work ethic, and they hired him for a summer job. So that is one of our cases where we put things back together to be to improve what had happened, to make it right, and it made things better. There's just one other quick one I'll say. There's two girls, high school girls, felt disrespected by another high school girl, one of their classmates, all through high school. And so in the senior year, they went out and keyed the girl's car, hitting every panel all the way around the car. And they were caught, and they were sent to a joint meeting with our program, the SURGE program. And in the same way, the victim got to talk first, how she had saved and worked for that dream car, and it had a perfect paint job, and now it was messed up and it was going to take hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars to repaint it to where it would look as good as it had. And the offenders described how she had been doing things that offended them or hurt them throughout high school, which it turned out she did not know she was doing, and they gained some understanding of each other. But in the end, in the discussion, it turned out they were all car lovers. And they all went to the local car shows, and they all admired good cars and practiced auto repair. And the two offenders agreed to spend several months paying back the victim so that she could get her car repaired. But the most memorable part of that event came for me when one of the offenders said, "We should have done this process years ago, and we could have been friends all the way through high school." So this is the kind of case we have. I mean, each case is its own different thing, but our goal is to put things back together better than they were before the offense as much as possible. And we have had studies on our data that shows that our offenders are less likely to reoffend than those that just go through the court system. And they also stay out of court, and they get their case dismissed if they complete our process, so they don't have any juvenile court record. So we are hoping you will help us fund our program. And if you have any questions, Janelle and I, and maybe some others here, would be happy to answer them. It looks like Lene has her hand up.
And who refers a situation to you? Is it the police officer, or is it the court? Or when in that process did the cone incident get to you, or who called you?
That one was early on, before what we have now is the IIP program, the Immediate Intervention Program. But that went to the juvenile prosecutor in the county attorney's office, and that's Nathan Dickey. He refers them to us. I guess there are a lot of cases now that never get to court, but they go straight to community corrections, and community corrections case workers, case officers will refer them to us.
So normally that person has been arrested, has been picked up, arrested,
yes,
charged and everything, and then the process starts. Okay.
Yes, the immediate intervention program means they've never actually had a charge, as I understand it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. It's at the discretion of the county attorney's office. He has, in some cases, sent them pre-file before he files a formal charge. We operate our parent youth facilitation program in partnership with KU currently, that is fully funded with some other state grants. So those are all pre-file. So it's really his discretion. The immediate intervention immediate intervention program kids that come through us through Annie's office, they are still approved by the county attorney, both for her program as well as for surge. So
But they
just an
just-
extra box they check, so.
Yeah, so some of them haven't technically been charged,
Correct.
but I think they've all been arrested,
Correct,
technically
yes.
speaking. Although they mostly don't have to go down to the police department. They just get a notice to contact later.
Vast majority of our agreements also include community service, like the traffic cone case. So there's a lot of community benefit. And we also, before I know Lene jumps in, when we first started, we realized that there were a lot of cases, kids especially, that we have to send back to the court who wanted to go through the program, but we didn't have a volunteer, or a victim that was willing to participate. So about 3 years into the program, we started using what we call neighborhood accountability boards, or trained volunteers, community members that come in and sit in lieu of the victims. And Lene Meyer is one of those. We have about 40 volunteers, a pool of volunteers that we use. The mediators can access them to come in place of the victim, so the juvenile or adult offender can still get a resolution, still get their charges dismissed, still have an outcome, a positive outcome, even when victims don't want to participate.
I got one more, if you don't mind.
No, I'd love-
Janelle, you had mentioned that the grants, the people that you are trying to get grants from need some local buy-in, and that makes sense to me. Can you give me an example of something like that? Have you been turned down, I guess is what I'm saying, or is it normally on a form, does it just need,
Well,
you know, what are we already doing with that sort of thing?
I would say there has to be a person, a director, an administrator to run the program, especially now that we've expanded to the point where we have 12 mediators. And it's really difficult to find funding that doesn't want to be service-specific.
Okay.
So it would be helpful for us in future. I can't think of any that we have gotten. Kylie might have to help. Kylie's in the process of writing several of us. I guess we had one that we submitted a letter of intent, and we were not asked to write the full grant. So I think we are getting to that point. We've, like I said, Greater Salina Community Foundation, Dane Hansen, we've just run the gamut of funding and had great outcomes with those funds. We've partnered with Community Corrections, but we just are lacking that long-term, this is our buy-in from our county, and they will help cover some of that admin fee so we can write grants for services. So we certainly don't intend to stop writing grants. It's just
Sure.
seeking some other options, so.
And we pay our mediators $150 per case, which is well below market rate for a mediator, but that cost and the cost of Janelle being our administrator and sending out the notices and getting the police reports, those are most of our expenses.
Sure.
We're pretty lean.
And as with Salina Grace, your initiative, we have found money. We found $89 million is available to house inmates. It's my hope that we can find a little bit of money to make sure that they don't get there. So.
Agreed.
Okay.
Any other commissioners have questions? Anyone in the public? I see a hand raised on Zoom. Lene?
Lene Meyer in Salina. First of all, I want to say thank you for the Zoom opportunities. It's very convenient and it's very safe. I've been a volunteer for the neighborhood board for several years, and I've sat in on a number of cases for both adolescents and adults. And it's a wonderful program. You know, we all make mistakes. Some mistakes are more severe or more difficult than others, but mistakes can be a learning experience. And so I strongly challenge you and encourage you to help fund the program. In the big picture, it not only serves those that are involved, but also serves the community as a whole. So please, please, please provide the funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Lene. Anyone else wish to comment? All right, well, thank you, ladies, for the presentation.
Thank you.
Item number 4.
Human Resources Update, Marilyn Lieber, Director.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This interval is mid-January to mid-May 2022. The accomplishments, some hiring updates. We have hired 20 individuals. We've had 12 individuals that have transferred or promoted to a different position, and 19 individuals that have left employment with Saline County. Some of the miscellaneous activities that occurred over this time, we had a Department of Labor inspection on May 10th that yielded some very good results for that. We had very little violations. We will be notified of those actual violations and provided an opportunity to correct those. We did have the Department of Labor inspector give kudos to the Road and Bridge Department for having AEDs in each one of their crew trucks as a safety measure. We had work comp audits that were completed earlier in the year. We have very recently implemented the Time Clock Plus system, which is the electronic timekeeping system. This pay period that we are working on right now to pay employees was the first pay period where we went live. And then also I presented at the County Clerks Association's conference on the Family Medical Leave Act. Upcoming plans is to fill vacant positions. As I wrote this, had 30 vacancies. We are up to 33 now. We are still going to be working on the Civic HR onboarding implementation. As far as the budget update, our health plan and dental plans are running pretty high right now. Based on that, we do expect to recommend some plan design changes, possibly put in place a qualified high deductible plan in order to offset some increases that we do expect. And then the budget update for human resources is at 31%, which is in line with historical averages for HR operations. And I'm available for questions.
Questions for Marilyn? Seeing none, thank you so much for the report.
Thank you.
Item number 5.
Livestock and Expo Update, David Flaherty, Director.
Morning, David.
Morning, Commissioners. First, I want to say thanks for the study session on April 26th. Got a lot out of that. So my interval is February, March, and April 2022. Our accomplishments on the Expo Center side is we have held 86 event days since the last update. Ag Hall on the north end fans were installed. Our horse show this past weekend was the very first show that got to use them. Very impressed with them. We are working around projects to ensure the events are set up and ready to go so everything's running smoothly as far as we're proceeding with updates. We did hire one position. We got a new chemical system in place for all the cleaning chemicals in 4-H, so that way they're not very easily accessible for kids when we have weddings and stuff in there. We upgraded QuickBooks from desktop. The contract came due on that. We looked into other things, and QuickBooks was still the cheapest to run on that. On the noxious weed department side, all the equipment has been dewinterized. Inspections have been started, and currently our 2 weed guys are out there spraying right-of-ways. With limited options, when the wind blows, we're not spraying, so we shoot them out as quick as we can on that. Future plans is the Expo. We're going to continue working with the project manager to upgrade projects, continue to maintain our shows and events, and trying to bring in new events and utilize 4-H and Kenwood Hall. And we're also going to work on filling the opening positions. Noxious weed side, we're going to continue the right-of-way spraying, provided the wind and rain stays away. We're also going to continue the inspections. We have a minimum of 10 we have to do through the state, and then any call-in complaints. And we are also going to continue to sell a chemical. Budget update, the Expo department has used 28.21% of our budget. The weed side deposits from chemical sales is currently at $23,683.31, and the budget used there is 24.94%. And the county farm currently has a budget of $203,483.72, and I'm available for questions.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Is, just when are they going to go ahead and install the big fans in the Ag Hall, or are you just going to utilize and see how well this does for the summer?
I believe that's on our next year's phases.
Oh, okay.
But we are going to actually look at to see if we are going to need those fans. Over this past event, when we were only able to run 2 of them because all 4 of them was drawing in quite a bit of air, and with 4 of them running, it was making a louder noise, and the horses get spooked a little easier. So we're going to kind of look at that situation and go from there. But
Okay, thank you.
if everything goes good, we won't need them.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6.
County Administrator's update.
Good morning, Commissioners. A number of different things to touch base on today. First, I'd like to have Farrell stand up, introduce you to Farrell Otieno, who is our new ARPA-funded intern in our office, started yesterday. Already got him involved in a number of projects, gave him a whole laundry list yesterday, so he's going to be working on updating some policies for us, as well as providing us additional capacity to monitor the ARPA project. So happy to have him on board.
Welcome.
Welcome, Farrell.
Kudos to county departments. We've had good news from a number of county departments over the last week or so. We got notified that Community Corrections, their Uptrust project, has won a National Association of Counties Achievement Award. So I'm very pleased by that. County appraiser Sean Robertson has been nominated as a fellow for the International Association of Assessing Officials, so congratulations to Sean. And then Marilyn kind of stole my thunder about Road and Bridge. They had just a spectacular review from Department of Labor. The guy actually left them a pair of boots. He was so impressed by their projects out there. So appreciate all the hard work from all our county departments. County budget update, just briefly, have met with all the departments now. Those meetings went well. And we have received the 2021 audit, and Randy Hoffmeyer will be here next Tuesday to give you all an update on that. So that's where we are on that. One other item that I did not have listed on your agenda that, because I just received it yesterday, there has been, I will say we have received notice, because we are an adjacent property owner, of an expansion at the Stone Lake development. So this would be on the north side of Schilling Road, just east of Ohio. It's a residential development. It would be in the city of Salina. The notice, of course, is from the city of Salina. I don't see us wanting to object to the development. The purpose of the notice is to give landowners the opportunity to raise various issues. I do, however, think it might be worth just sending a note to the city to remind them about that portion of Schilling Road and whether they should consider maybe annexing, since they are now on both sides of that. So I thought just bring that up. And the last item is an update on air service. Last last Tuesday, you heard from Tim Rogers with the Salina Airport Authority regarding the latest and greatest as of that time on air service. I think I've mentioned to you a couple of times that the story seems to be changing pretty much daily as we go through this process. And so Tim is back with a little bit of more information for us this week. Things have continued to shift a little bit. So I'll turn it over to Tim for a brief conversation.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you, Commissioners, for taking time to, again, kind of follow the progress or the series of events, as we have a saying at the airport, just another episode in the ongoing saga of As the Beacon Turns. And so we are at a point that since last week, the U.S. Department of Transportation received a proposal for air service, essential air service program, air service at the Saline Airport from Denver Air Connection, which is a Key Lime Air Company. The operating name, the DBA, is Denver Air Connection. They're based out of Denver, Colorado. They operate regional jets, and they are a small, growing air carrier. They are, for example, providing service right now in South Dakota, like Pierre and Watertown, into Denver. They were just awarded by the U.S. DOT a contract to provide essential air service at Alamosa, Colorado, operating regional jets. The company did make a visit to Salina and Saline County. They were here, and they're expecting to be here an hour and a half. They spent about 4.5 hours at Salina visiting, of course, the airport, K-State Salina, One Vision Aviation, and as can be seen by the proposal that I handed out today that was received by the U.S. DOT, they do want to serve Salina, Kansas. This is not the final step in the process, which is concluded when the U.S. Department of Transportation makes a selection of an air carrier for Salina and continued service. But this is the assurance that there will be regional jet service to Denver and with an option to Chicago that we have in hand. This is still remains to be seen whether or not SkyWest Airlines will rescind their notice to terminate service at Salina. I do not have any communication from SkyWest Airlines that they are going to do so. They have not communicated to the U.S. DOT that they would that they want to continue servicing Salina as United Express, and a little frustrating that they have not done so at that time. And that's the same frustration that about 28 other communities have with SkyWest Airlines. Do want to point out that of the 28 communities that received proposals that proposals were submitted for to the U.S. DOT, only 6 of those communities, of which Salina is one, received a proposal for regional jet service. The other proposals for example, single engine turboprop service, 9-seat flying. So I think we do have this pending, but the point here today is to maybe see if you have further questions about this proposal with this little short time to look at it, but more importantly, kind of what are your priorities? Maybe your any comments you would have as an elected body, elected officials, as far as what is your preference as far as ongoing air service. The city commission meeting last night, we discussed, and what was discussed, issues such as retaining the United Airlines, code share, the connectivity through Denver and Chicago, gating, where is the aircraft, where the gates are. And the differences would be with SkyWest right now. SkyWest is a fully branded United service, and that means ticketing, the global distribution system for tickets. Denver Air Connection has an affiliation with United, not a full code share. Gating, the gate space that Denver Air Connection has at Denver is not on Concourse B. where SkyWest flies as United Express. There are just some differences along those lines between the two that may make a difference, and so I'd be glad to take any thoughts that you have, and we'll work with Phil to include those in any community comments that we will present later this week. The US DOT has asked for community comments by this Friday, the 20th, and we'll have another discussion. I'll have a discussion with the Airport Authority Board of Directors tomorrow morning at our 8 a.m. Board meeting then also. I'll see if you have any questions at this moment, at this time, and then take any guidance or any comments that you would have, take those into consideration as we prepare community comments.
What concourse does this new airline fly into?
Denver Air Connection flies into Concourse A, and it's sometimes it's a ramp boarding out in Denver. If you recall the Great Lakes Airlines connection and service, it's really the same type of on the ramp, on the tarmac, and then at Concourse A. And then hit the tram, hit the light rail to get to Concourse B or C or any other location. If you're
And luggage?
The interline agreement provides for the baggage exchange and the exchange of bags. There is a difference, though. It's not considered online. When a bag is checked on United Express out of Salina, it is considered online and is considered to be just as if you boarded the flight in Denver or Chicago. The interline agreement, it's not as, there are some hiccups that occur because, number one, the aircraft is farther away from the connecting flight, and secondly, it does not receive in the system, I just have to be very candid, not as high of a priority.
But the passenger is not picking up the luggage in Denver and re-ticketing it when they're going to Vegas?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
But hopefully it gets to Vegas.
Yes, unless you are switching air carriers, not staying on a United ticket. Mm-hmm.
Tim, I don't have any questions, but I do have just a comment that through all the work that the Airport Authority and the community, Chamber of Commerce, and everybody has done to enhance the air service to Salina, Kansas, to Chicago and Denver both, reaching both coasts easily, so forth, I would hate to see us take a step backwards and lose part of this. And irregardless, it looks like we're going to do that, at least for the short term. Is that correct, or?
There is still, the game board is still, and the game is still underway. The game board is still out, and there's some moves to still are yet to be made, and we're waiting for SkyWest to, in the affirmative, decide, are they going to, is the notice to terminate stand, or will they rescind? If they rescind the notice to terminate, then that kind of restores and keeps the service we have in place. They have not forfeited the privilege of rescinding that notice of termination. But that's where SkyWest is they just have not been able to say whether they want to stay in these markets or not in a timely fashion. And it keeps the doubt and keeps us all concerned about what are they going to do. For us, though, as a community, this means we do have jet service as a backstop, a airline that wants to be here, but we still have to wait these next few. I bet we have to wait another couple weeks before SkyWest arrives at a final decision.
Well, you've done so much work to involve not only Salina but surrounding counties, and to get those people to come to Salina and fly from Salina. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden it seems like we're getting ready to open the door, potentially, not we, but potentially now they're going to be seeking out Manhattan and Wichita and Kansas City as their departure point.
What will occur if there is a change, and I'll still say if there is a change, the marketing program that we have in place will be adapted and will be switched so that North Central Kansas residents, Salina, Saline County, and all North Central Kansas in our catchment area will definitely get word about the Denver Air Connection service if that's available. It will be attractive, still attractive as point-to-point service from Chicago to Denver. The fares will be very attractive, and in checking with Pierre, South Dakota, and Watertown, where Denver Air Connection replaced SkyWest up there, they've actually done very well on the enplanements. But I think the marketing will have to be just as important as ever to get the message out, how to book on Denver Air Connection, how to make your connecting flights at Denver or Chicago, will have to be more of a how-to change in the marketing campaign. And I think we have a good chance of retaining and continuing the market growth.
But to get to Chicago, potentially you're going to have to go to Denver first? Is that?
No.
No?
The option on this is a nonstop Denver, nonstop Chicago.
Is that with Denver Air? I mean, the key
With
line?
Denver Air Connection, yes.
Okay. That's a new turn in this, isn't it?
No, with Denver Air Connection has always wanted to be, come in here. They initially providing nonstop service to Denver and with the option of nonstop service to Chicago. And we're continuing to work with SkyWest to maintain that also as they look at moving forward and remaining at Salina.
Okay.
Can SkyWest pull back their offer or whatever you just said it? I mean, could they keep Salina and not keep everybody else, or is this
Yes.
a package deal?
Yes, they can. That's what they're struggling with, and I think it gets a good point. I believe SkyWest is struggling. Do they rescind a notice to terminate for all 28 communities that are, or do they select Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and they keep Tier 1? We have received the confirmation or indication from SkyWest they view Salina at the Salina market as a Tier 1 market, Tier 1, but they are struggling. That's their decision point. Do they rescind for all 28 or just the top tier?
And this hesitation from them, are they looking for something from us? I mean, is this hesitation like, yeah, do you have anything else for us? Do you read that?
They are not.
Okay.
They are not, and it's a good question. What they're struggling with is availability of pilots. It truly is. And they do see that they have a source for pilots here in Salina and Saline County, and that is K-State, Salina, and the 400 student pilots that are in training right now to become airline pilots. And they do have 3 aircraft in maintenance down at One Vision.
Right.
So they are, there's other needs for the community to remain here, unlike any other community on the list of 28.
Well, I wonder how Denver Air is getting pilots, and they're not. I mean,
they're smaller. They're able to do some things a little more aggressively. They are paying the top rate check their wages on their first officers. They are paying. They've made a decision, and they've started out paying at a top value. So they're recruiting
Denver
pilots.
areas. Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's interesting.
If I missed anything.
The only thing that I was going to say, so my understanding is you talked about the concourse situation in Denver, but I believe at O'Hare, I believe Denver Air actually flies into a different terminal than United as well.
Yes,
So
that is correct. And so the gating and location, that is a significant difference between the two. And that would be a factor in retaining SkyWest and United Express service in itself, yes.
Very good. Any more comments?
Is it the DOT or who is it that makes that final decision of who does what?
The United States Department of Transportation makes the selection.
Okay, and is there any, and they have to have this done in the next month, 2-3 weeks?
Well, they don't have to have it.
But-
They have set a schedule that they've asked for Salina, Saline County community comments by this Friday, the 20th. That can be extended, but again, it gets back to what is known is that SkyWest has issued a notice to terminate, and that sets into motion this process to select replacement carriers. Absent the rescission by SkyWest, US DOT is on the process of providing communities with a replacement air carrier based upon this proposal process. So
It could even come back to where,
that stops this selection process.
so the Department of Transportation couldn't say, okay, no, we want Denver Air to come in here now.
Right now, SkyWest has the ability to rescind the notice of termination, which would stop this
Okay.
selection process.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
I
a good
thought,
clarification.
But I just wanted to,
That's what we're waiting for from SkyWest. Make up your mind.
okay, thank you.
What do you want to do? But what has changed since last week and May 11th, for this market, that is a valued market, it's been a good market for SkyWest. They see there's another air carrier interested. So this is why, for Salina and Saline County, SkyWest is taking a pause and is thinking, okay, do we want to stay in Salina in this market or not?
Yep, thank you.
Tim, can we play the what-if game here? And what if SkyWest doesn't rescind and DOT goes with Denver Air? That's a 2-year contract
It'd be a 2-year contract.
that Salina's held to and Denver Air.
Well, Denver Air is held to the 2-year contract. The contract is with the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Okay. And what if, here we go, things improve and there's pilots galore and SkyWest says, we'd like to get back in that market?
Oh, that would be another, after, the contract runs for 2 years, and there'll be another after, when that first 2-year contract expires, prior to expiration, there would be another process for requests for proposals, another selection process, and SkyWest would have a chance, or any other air carrier would have a chance to come in and
But
submit
that can't
proposals.
happen for 2 years. It can't happen until that contract is been.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Is there any way possible that there's more than one carrier flying in and out of here? Didn't there
Not-
used to be?
Long,
A long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not under the Essential Air Service Program.
Okay.
Now, another air carrier can come in and enter the market on their own at any time, but I think it's taking a look at the proposal
Yes,
here.
yes, yeah.
It's the risk is, I mean, it's an $8 million proposition.
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah, they can. Anybody could take that risk, and the airport authorities' policies and the FAA policies are such that they can come and enter the market at any time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks for your hard work. All right, we move on to item number 7.
Commissioners' comments?
I just have a question of the county administrator. When Wichita State came in and gave their presentation about the wage study, they said that they were going to follow up with me and give me information on the fringe benefits and the health insurance plans of the other place. I haven't received anything.
Okay,
Duly
I'll follow up.
noted or whatever. And I guess on your, when you're doing your budget, I'm assuming that you're plugging in the numbers from the Wichita State survey?
That is my assumption as well.
Okay.
That's what I've been
And I guess
working towards.
this is just going to be from me, and I'd like to know what my fellow commissioners feel, but if City of Salina was one of the peer groups that we looked at, and we're going to start matching their salary, then it's my hope that we just match their health insurance too. Whatever City of Salina is doing for health insurance, we ought to do if we're going to match their salary. So, I mean, it's the same taxpayer funding it, and it makes sense. So I would like to see that. I'd like to hear what my fellow commissioners feel, but I would like to see that in the budget process also, and see where that falls.
Well, I'm sure we'll get a lot deeper in that when we get into the budget process and the budget hearing.
Yes.
Any other-
I'm not sure that was directed at me, but
I-
yeah, I will say I'm not familiar with Salina's insurance program, but I think Marilyn alluded to in her report the fact that we are going to be having to bring some proposals to you to change what we offer in the way of insurance just from a financial standpoint. So,
And I know that that was part of the
Whether
Wichita
that's
State's
better
I know
or
that that was
worse
part
than
of the
what
thing, and they
Salina
never
offers.
presented that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so I'll follow up with them, but thank you.
Saturday, I just wanted to say is that I went out and I'd been through it, but the new city shooting range, and it is just a phenomenal asset to the city, the county, sheriffs, and police, and everybody uses it. And one of the things that I want to just bring up that I was not aware of, and going through some of it, was the SWAT vehicle that they have, that the city owns, but the county does use it when we need let's say that we go out, the sheriff's department goes out for a arrest or something, or a drug bust or something, and they need protection from gunfire thing. That's what they use, is the SWAT. Well, and anyway, and I made a call to Sheriff Solden, and he suggested that the last time that vehicle was needed, that it didn't make it to the site for, so, and I just want to bring that to attention, that if nobody knows about that, it's like the city is looking at upgrading that vehicle because it does need it really bad. And so they just, any funds that they can get to help out to get to that point is greatly appreciated.
Any other comments? Item number 8, Tammy.
Announcements?
The announcements? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for
so moved.
adjournment.
Second.
Been moved and second that we adjourn this meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0.